Everybody knows by now that this isn't the real Mario 2 and that it's just a different game Nintendo reskinned with the Mario brand because the other Mario 2 is deemed too hard for American kids. But I have to wonder if this game is overlooked a bit nowadays because it's so different. It certainly wasn't overlooked at the time. In fact, it was the best-selling standalone NES game. But when people talk about the classic Mario games, they talk about Super Mario Bros., Mario 3, Mario 64, not really this one. And that's probably because, like I said, it's not a real Mario game. You run and jump, sure, and you play as Mario guys up against enemies that would go on to be Mario mainstays like Bob-omb, Pokey, and Birdo, but otherwise the differences are numerous. The most immediately noticeable one is that instead of jumping on enemies to kill them, you get on top of them and throw them against other enemies, or use them for platforming. It's a really novel idea, and it feels so satisfying to connect a hit, especially when it combos into other enemies. You can also pick things out of the ground, usually vegetables to hurl at baddies, but also sometimes POW blocks, magic potions, or even a rocket ship. The magic potions aren't to beef you up directly, they're to take you to another dimension where you can get a mushroom to increase your HP for that level. It's a cool idea, but sometimes it could be really frustrating to use potions in the wrong spot and find out you've wasted them, and there are other times where I swear it's impossible to actually get a full 4 HP. I've seen at least one instance where it's not possible to fully upgrade your HP if you happen to go into the level with the wrong character, which was pretty annoying. I guess this is a good time to talk about the 4 playable characters. Mario's reputation as the jack of all trades begins here, with him having the most balanced stats of the 4 characters, fitting his role as the default protagonist. Luigi has the best jump, which theoretically makes him a better Mario, but he's a bit slower and harder to control, and sometimes his jump is a little too high for dodging certain projectiles, if that makes sense. The other 2 characters are a little more unconventional, which I suppose fits them not being the titular Mario brothers. Toad is who you play as if you just want to make things more difficult. He runs a bit faster and pulls things out of the ground quickly, but his jump sucks. I don't really recommend him. Peach isn't that fast and doesn't jump particularly high either, but she can float, which can really help with trickier platforming sequences. But this game is a bit lighter on the tight platforming overall. Being originally intended as a different game altogether, the level design emphasizes exploration more than strictly linear platforming. This means you can actually go left, a marvelous improvement for sure, but you're now running around, digging through dirt, finding keys, and traversing vertical passages. This new level design is what really makes this game feel different, and while it's not as immediate or fun as Super Mario Bros., it certainly is a bit more complex and involved, and sometimes the game does novel things with getting around, like having you pull a POW block to fall down, or stand on a Birdo egg to shoot far away off screen to the next platform. Sometimes these level gimmicks can be frustrating. In one maddening level, you have to ride on a bird and not make one false jump or else you're done for. Additionally, Phanto, the mask that chases you around when you get a key, is an incredibly annoying enemy that's killed me at the worst possible moments. It's also kind of annoying that you have limited continues, which is a really stupid idea that carried over from the arcade era. Every game should have unlimited continues, period. You should never have to restart the whole thing from square one because you happened upon a really hard level, and there's some tough ones towards the end here. But even if it's not a real Mario game, Mario 2 is a fun time and a worthy addition to the series. It's quite fun in its own right, and it looks and sounds great too. Nintendo's ability to squeeze more graphical capability out of their hardware by now is a linear improvement for sure, but I also just appreciate the game's bright, colorful art style, which makes Super Mario Bros. Look a bit dull in comparison. I also like the upbeat, ragtime feel that much of this game's music has, and the unique Egyptian vibe, which the game owes to its origins as Dream Factory Heart-Pounding Panic. It's not just palm trees and pyramids though, as the game also sports some dreamlike imagery befitting its dream-centric storyline. I especially like the dimly lit subspace and the giant whales resting in the water in the ice world. I would actually love to see another 2D platformer that makes more out of the grabbing and throwing stuff system in this game. I bet that idea could be taken a lot farther. But until then, this stands alone as a great retro platforming experience. I prefer the original NES version, but if you want to save without emulator save states, the graphically and sonically enhanced Super Nintendo version and Super Mario All-Stars is a viable option, though I think the game loses some visual and aural charm. There was also a remake on the Game Boy Advance titled Super Mario Advance, which includes some pretty cool changes, like some giant enemies and a new Mechabirdo boss fight. It's based on the Super Nintendo version, but unfortunately, it also has a crushed screen resolution, blown out color palette, reduced difficulty, and tremendously reduced sound quality, as well as some rather obnoxious and out-of-place voice clips. It's not as bad in most of the later Mario GBA ports, but it's particularly egregious here, especially since they gave Birdo a voice. Why? The wider point, though, is that Mario 2 is fun and you should play it, no matter your platform of choice. Thanks for watching.